How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. Today I'm going to go ahead and give a comprehensive guide or breakdown of the current Union Cross event, which is the Hainer and Pence and Olette B medals. There's a few tips and tricks that I've been working out with my party, and I'm making this video to help everyone get as many of these as possible, because the farming on this is kind of ridiculous. The drop rates are pretty low. So the first question is, how do you get these medals? You get them as drops from the little pink eggs with the ribbons that appear sometimes. I'm not exactly sure what their name is, but that's mainly where you're going to be getting them from, and it doesn't happen all the time. You kind of have to get lucky. But the first thing is, as you can see on my outfit with the flower hat and the accessories that I've chosen, you can give yourself an accessory setup that increases your item drop perk, and that will help you see them more consistently. There's been some discussion about whether or not the rare enemy perk increase makes a big difference as far as how many eggs will appear, and from what I've seen, a lot of people have come to the consensus that it really doesn't affect the appearance rate of these eggs. So an item drop perk seems more plausible overall if you're just going to farm these medals. The second thing is, when you actually go and get your copies of the medals, they're going to come 5-starred. Now, the best trait that you could have on these medals is going to be the extra attack trait. You're going to want it on them. And my recommendation for that is, while they're still 5-star medals, what you're going to want to do is start combining them. Even if you want to take two copies, and then you want to start combining other copies into them. And it's okay if they both get to 3 dots. That's perfectly fine. Because the goal is, on one of these two medals, you want to get the extra attack trait. And then you do want one with 3 dots and the other one with 2 dots. That way, when you evolve them both, you'll end up with enough dots to be able to gilt a 6-star version of the medal. And then by doing that, by using the 5-star medals to combine in and get the extra attack trait, you're not wasting all that time spending 5 copies of the exact same medal to evolve into a 6, and then combining those 6s every single time you want to reroll for a trait. So that's the first thing that you can do to save some time and save some resources as far as getting the correct trait on this medal and then gilting it with that trait. Then for the trio, the Hainer, Pence, and Olette, when you go to make that, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to actually have several copies of at least one of them, Hainer, Pence, or Olette. You're going to want to have several copies of it, because ultimately what the objective is with this event, or what it should be, is to get 2 copies of the Hainer, Pence, and Olette trio medal with extra attack on each of them, because by doing that, each one is giving you essentially a tier 2 defense buff in all categories, including general defense, for 2 tiers. And if you have 2 of those, that's 4 tiers of every kind of defense every turn, and then it lasts for 2 turns. So ultimately, what you're going to end up with is a maxed out defensive setup off of 2 medals. So ultimately, the objective of the Union Cross event right now should be to get 2 copies of the Twilight Town Trio medal. Gilt doesn't really matter on these except for your Nova level if you're really wanting to boost your Nova level, but ultimately what you should be aiming at with this is to get yourself 2 copies of Hainer, Pence, and Olette Trio, each one with the extra attack trait. As far as gilting that medal, what you can do is, when you're building these separate copies of the Hainer, Pence, or Olette medal, you can gilt it, and then when you evolve it into the trio medal, it should carry over that gilt. However, I have heard floating around that if you do that, it won't unlock the Nova bonus for it. You'll need to combine a mirror into it, raise it by 1% in order to unlock the gilt bonus for the trio medal. I'm not sure if that's true, but I've seen that floating around from some Japanese players who got this event before us, and that's what they're saying. So it's worth taking that into account. You might not want to max gilt it, and make sure that you can at least put 1 magic mirror on it in case that ends up being true, because then you can throw that magic mirror on there and get the Nova bonus from the trio. You don't have to gilt both copies, I would say, because you can only get the gilt bonus for 1, so gilt 1 copy of the trio and then have the other one just there with the extra attack trait, because honestly, I think it would take way too long to try to gilt both of them. One final tip that I think could help as far as everybody actually getting copies of this medal is, when you're actually out there running the quest, go into your chat and get these two phrases, over here and ooh rare. Or maybe just over here. I like to have the ooh rare. But what that does is, like, when you find one of those eggs and you go into the battle, don't attack it right away. Just start spamming over here and ooh rare so that everybody can come over and enter that battle too and have a shot at getting their copy of the medal as well. That's a trend that I'd kind of like to see spread over Union Cross, because the drop rates on this are pretty terrible. If you've been grinding for any real amount of time, you'll know what I'm talking about. The drop rate is absolutely horrid on these things. So the idea behind that is kind of like players banding together and trying to help each other out. So when you find those eggs, do not attack them right away. Just go ahead and start spamming those two little chat phrases right there, or just the one, the over here, to let everyone know you found them. And then once everybody is in the battle, then go ahead and take it out so that everyone has a fair shot of actually getting a copy of the medal. But I hope that these little tips and tricks have helped. I hope this helps everybody, and I'd really like to see everybody helping each other out in Union Cross as well. Good luck to you guys. I hope you are able to achieve the objective of this, get those, oh, look at that, an Elite B. And there was no pink egg too. That's another thing too. I've seen that not only do the eggs drop it, but the bosses for each stage also drop it. I've also seen it said that they can come out of chests as well, but I'm not sure, especially with the chests, how valid that is. But I know for sure, and I've tested it, not the raid bosses, the bosses themselves for each quest will drop one sometimes, and then the eggs have the highest rate of dropping one. But anyways, guys, I hope those tips help you out. Happy hunting. I hope you achieve the goal for this mission. Get yourself those 2 copies of the trio, each with extra attack, and you'll have a maxed out defensive setup if you ever need to turtle up against a particularly hard boss. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you later. Have a good one.